moving on from there, excellent to see the Haas cars going well again. I hope they know why they went well. As Ron Tornak used to say, knowing why you're quick is much more difficult than knowing why you're slow. Because obviously if you knew why you're quick, you'd never be slow. And I hope that's the case with Haas. I hope it's not just a case of lucking into ambience and track surface that suddenly made the tyres magically work well on the car. Kevin Magnussen, wow, aggressive like you wouldn't believe, just repetitive with his lap times, right there, beautiful drive from Kevin Magnussen. Romain Grosjean, a little bit like Sebastian. I think he doesn't really know when he's racing with Kevin how quick Kevin is and how tough Kevin is in traffic and how good he is at restarts as well. And then we saw Romain doing all those weird things at the end, sort of breaking into the runoff area at turn 1 and then just going the right side of the cone and rejoining the race on 3 occasions, I think. You know, good on Romain for doing that. Gave us a bit of TV fun. But it actually lost a couple of places for Haas, which is not a good thing. Good drive by Carlos Sainz, but we shouldn't forget that on home ground, he was actually out-qualified by a fraction by Lando Norris. And that, to me, says a lot, because I think what we see with Sainz is a driver about as good as he's going to get, which is pretty good. What we see with Lando Norris is a very, very good young driver on the way up, who's already slightly quicker than Carlos Sainz on home territory, and that's impressive. I thought Lando drove well all weekend, didn't get the best of all the strategy of the pit stops, and of course certainly maybe next time he's near Lance Stroll he'll assume that Stroll doesn't look in his mirrors and just back away. For everybody else it was a bit of a scrappy weekend. Toro Rosso went pretty well. Quite a few comments from viewers, and thank you for those. I do read them, and just flat out the whole time. Don't get a lot of chance to reply to many of them, but I will try to do that, I promise you. But quite a few people asking why on Friday I felt that Kvyat was going to go well all weekend. And indeed why I felt the Haas drivers were going to go well, because it was very early in the weekend when I made those comments. And that was because I was watching on the only point of the Barcelona circuit where you can really see a difference between see a difference between drivers, and B, see that difference on a corner that's important. 2 crucial points. And through there, as I said at the time, Daniel Kvyat was very, very good with his change of direction out of 2 into 3. Absolute minimum of loss of energy through the tyres, through the car. He just looked very, very nice. Whereas Alex Albon was slightly more, he was very fluid, as I said, but he was just using a little bit more throttle and a little bit more steering, where Daniel was doing everything with a nice combination. And I wasn't surprised at all to see Kvyat go well in the race as a result, nor was I surprised to see the 2 Haas's go well, as I say, because both those drivers looked fabulous out of 2 into 3. By contrast, Kimi never really looked good there when I was watching. I sort of made the fatuous comment that I'm sure he'd have a good weekend as a result, because he normally recovers from bad weekends, but it didn't get any better for Kimi. And I did make the comment then that Lance Stroll looked to be completely lost, and because he was just using so much road and just asking so much of the car. And I think that was borne out in the race. So moving on now to Monaco, looking forward to trying to experiment more with what we can do in the paddock area. And it'll be different there because Monaco's paddock is so different. But I'll try to capture some of that. We'll be down there first thing Thursday. Remember, they run on Thursday. It's a sort of slow day on Friday. Nothing happens. And then, well, nothing happens F1-wise. And then Saturday, Sunday, it all comes to a head. I'll be watching the race and qualifying from the yacht club overlooking the chicane, looking down on the chicane. I don't think I'll be able to tell a lot there about who's doing what, because it's just heavy braking into a slow corner. I think you can probably tell a little bit by the way they get into that first apex and how economical they are, and how indeed they look in high-speed braking. I suppose that's an interesting thing to go for as well. But Monaco, for me, I've got to say it, I always go there with slight fear, because I think as much as it is the shop window of Formula One, and we all talk about Monaco and how glamorous it is and how wonderful it is, I think it is actually a very dangerous circuit. There's a lot of slow speed corners where that's fine, but that section out of Saint-Devote up the hill towards Casino Square, and I don't mean the entry to Casino Square, because I think, you know, once you break there, and if there's a lot of stuff to stop you going anywhere, but I think up the hill always worries me a bit, because you get two cars interlocked there, one up in the air. There's not a lot to stop a big accident happening, and so I always go to Monaco. I think out of the tunnel is still pretty dodgy as well. So I always go to Monaco feeling slightly nervous, and I just hope everything's going to be okay. I don't want to put a damper on anything at all, but I think it's worth saying that at a time when we're talking about so much safety in Formula One in terms of the cockpit, the halo, the circuits, the runoff area. We go to Monaco, and we should never take it for granted, because it is a circuit where you can get into trouble if things go wrong.